What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Untitled Sports Podcast. In today's episode, we have our final NBA mock draft. The NBA draft day is here, and I'm so excited for it. I'm going to share my screen, and let's just get straight into it. All right, can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. So this is my final mock draft for tonight's draft. And with the number one pick out of the Pistons selecting Cade Cunningham, there's been a ton of talk recently that it could be Jalen Green or Evan Mobley. I think those are just smoke screens put out by other teams trying to trade up for number one. I truly do believe that the Pistons will take Cade Cunningham. He's a consensus number one pick. He's so special, 6'8" point guard. I think he can come in there for the Pistons and completely change the organization around.
Yeah, he's consensus number one. That's why I got him too. Can come in and be that face of the franchise for the future for sure.
Okay, moving on. Number two pick, I have the Houston Rockets selecting Jalen Green. This one at the very beginning was pretty much Evan Mobley. Then as more news started to come out, it's most likely going to be Jalen Green. The Rockets are in love with Cade Cunningham. They've been, according to Woj, aggressively trying to trade up to number one. It may still happen, but I don't think it will. I think that they're going to be locked in with Jalen Green.
Yeah, I think he's the best player available at number two. We'll see what happens, Mobley or him, but I think he's definitely the best player available.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I do think there is a closer gap between Cade Cunningham and Jalen Green that I think people don't realize. I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Green becomes a better player at all. He definitely has a great work ethic. We'll see what he does in a non-COVID atmosphere, if he can produce those stats. Now moving on. Number 3 overall, the Cavaliers select Evan Mobley. This is a consensus top 3. It will be the top 3. I have no doubt in my mind. And reports say that the Cavaliers are in love with Evan Mobley. They view him as a stretch 4 in the NBA, as almost like a Chris Bosh type, great defense, great shooting, great rebounding. So I think him and Allen, Mobley backcourt or front court can coexist in the NBA, and I think it will.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's consensus top 3, but they do have a lot of centers in the system right now, Cavaliers. So we'll see if that can fit, but definitely consensus top 3. We'll see how it shakes out.
Mm-hmm. Move on to the 4th pick. There's a lot of speculation between 3 guys of this pick, but I think it will be Jalen Suggs. Jalen Suggs is just so special as a passer and a scorer. We see what he did at Gonzaga. He took him to the national championship game. I think he can be that Kyle Lowry replacement. He's more of a floor general. I don't know if you label him as a top 5 scorer in this draft, but he's no doubt a great facilitator and a great defender, which I think is exactly what Toronto needs.
Yeah, I agree with you. I got him number 4 too. That Kyle Lowry replacement, just like you just said. He's a floor general. He can distribute the ball, be that point passer kind of guy. Doesn't need to score to make a difference on the game. So yeah, I got him at number 4 too.
All right, moving on to number 5. I have Orlando Magic selecting Scotty Barnes from Florida State. Now, I don't really agree with these reports that have been coming out. They say the Magic are in love with Scotty Barnes. They want to take him at 5. They view him as a Ben Simmons almost type player, which I think he can be in the NBA. And we see they love drafting lengthy defenders, which they drafted Jonathan Isaac 4 years ago. So I think this should be Kuminga, but the Magic like Barnes.
Yeah, I've seen those reports too. It'd be an interesting fit with him and John Isaac. They're both not really primary scorers, but yeah, we'll see what happens. I think they need to go more of a scoring guy here to pair with John Isaac and get some more scoring in that lineup. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that pick. Interesting one for sure.
Yeah, this is definitely where the draft starts. At number 6, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder selecting James Bouknight, a guard from UConn. This is another one where I think they should go Kuminga, but due to the reports, they say they don't want to pass on Mook Knight. They love his scoring ability. They think he'll be great in the backcourt next to SGA. So do I. I'm really high on Mook Knight. I just think Kuminga's my fourth player on my big board, so I don't like to see him fall past 6, but I also love the idea of getting Mook Knight here.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I got Kuminga as the fourth best guy in this draft, but some teams like to go fit and not just best player available. So, I mean, I agree with you completely. I love Book Knight a lot. I had UConn going pretty far in the March Madness last year, all because of him. He's a great scorer, super athletic, and he's super fun to watch. So, I would like that pick a lot for Oklahoma City.
Now, this would be absolutely absurd from this next pick, but I got the Warriors taking Jonathan Kuminga. It always feels like the Warriors get someone good in the draft who ends up falling to them, or they pick high, they get a great player. Like last year, they get Wiseman. This year, they get Kuminga. I think for the Warriors, Kuminga could be a great trading piece. For one option, there's been rumors they've been linked to Bradley Beal, possibly Damian Lillard, maybe Ben Simmons. And I think getting a guy like Kuminga, who is a top 5 player in this draft, in my opinion, could be a huge asset to them. Or if they can't get any of these trades through, Kuminga is also a stud. He can fit in right in that system, sit behind Wiggins maybe for a year, and then take that starting role.
Yeah, I mean, everything you said, I completely agree with. Kuminga, he can come in and play on that team and come off the bench maybe, or even challenge Wiggins for that starting spot. But he could also be a trade piece. You see rumors about like Damian Lillard or Ben Simmons maybe. He could be in those trade packages for sure. So be interesting. It'd be crazy if he falls to them, but yeah, it's an interesting pick for sure.
Yeah. With the 8th pick, I have the Magic selecting Moses Moody, a wing from Arkansas. I think Moody would be a great pick here for the Magic. He's definitely a top defender. That Magic defense would be incredible with Moody, Barnes, Isaac. But he's also a great scorer. He's definitely a top shooter in this draft. His stats don't show the story. He's definitely one of the better shooters. He wasn't very efficient from 3, but definitely in the year he came on late. So I think adding his scoring, his 3-and-D ability, would be great for the Magic.
Yeah, another defender that the Magic could bring in. I mean, we'll see. I think, in my opinion, they need to go scoring somewhere in this draft. Bring in a primary scorer to pair with those defenders on the team. But I like Moses Moody a lot too. So I think either way, he can score the ball as well. Be a 3-and-D guy, just like you said. And I don't know, we'll see. But I like that pick a lot.
All right, moving on to pick 9. I have the Kings selecting Franz Wagner, wing from Michigan. I've mocked this in my last mock. I love the fit. You got your backcourt set out between Tyrese Halliburton, De'Aaron Fox. Hield's most likely on the move this offseason. I don't expect him to be on the team for the 2021 season. I think Franz Wagner can step up and be that starting small forward immediately, with moving probably Harrison Barnes to the 4. And we'll see what happens with Rashawn Holmes and Marvin Bagley in the offseason. But I like Franz Wagner's defensive ability and his ability to score the ball, which I think will be critical to the Kings' rebuild.
Yeah, I mean, me and you are both Michigan fans, so we saw Franz Wagner all year. Didn't have the best tournament, but can't deny what he did all season and how instrumental he was for that Michigan team. So, yeah, I agree with you. I like the pick here a lot, too.
Okay, moving on to the 10th pick in the draft. We have the trade. The Memphis Grizzlies shipped Jonas Valanciunas, the 17th pick, to the Pelicans for pick 10, Steven Adams and Bledsoe. And with this 10th pick, the Memphis Grizzlies select Josh Giddey, guard from Australia. There's been a ton of reports that this is the guy they traded up for. They could possibly move up more to the top 8 to get a guy like Moody or Book Knight. But I think they'll stick here and take Giddey. I wouldn't say Giddey's a top defender or scorer in this draft, but his ability to pass is unreal. He reminds me a ton of LaMelo Ball passing-wise. I think his scoring can develop, and I think he'll be a solid 10-plus point per game scorer. I think the Grizzlies are bringing him to really just facilitate to all those young scorers.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think they go Josh Giddey here. I mean, he's 6'8", so he can play that kind of 1 to 3 position and still distribute the ball from any spot. Just like you say, he's not the best scorer or defender in the draft, but his passing is undeniable. So I think they got to go with him here.
Mm-hmm. Pick 11, I have the Charlotte Hornets selecting Keon Johnson, shooting guard from Tennessee. I love this pick. Originally, I was hoping the Hornets would take a center, but now that I'm thinking about it, I don't like any center here. I just think it would be a reach, and I think the Hornets would be better taking a guy high up on their board instead of reaching for a big man. I would just go past player available. And I think Keon Johnson can fit with that future. I don't see Terry Rozier in the future that franchise at the shooting guard. I think you bring in a top 5 defender in this draft, and which the Hornets need. They need defense next to guys like Gordon Hayward, LaMelo, PJ Washington, Bridges. So I think he can fit in perfectly and become that future backcourt mate to LaMelo.
Yeah, I like Keon Johnson a lot, but I got the Turkish player here, Alperen Şengün from Turkey. He won the Turkish League MVP last year. They need that certified center of the future for the Hornets, and I think he can come in. He averaged 20 and 9 last year in the Turkish League, which you could say is Turkish League, so it's not that impressive, but I still think that he's young, he can come right in, and he's played against grown men, so I think that's the pick there for me.
Moving on to pick 12, I have the Spurs selecting Alperen Şengün. You just said he won the Turkish League MVP at only 17 years old, which is unreal. He's still playing with professional basketball grown men, and winning that MVP is absolutely crazy. I think he's more of an old school type big. He'll back you down. He'll punish you in the post. He's a scary defender. He just needs to work on that jump shot. I think if he develops a mid-range shot, doesn't have to be anything too special, not a three-pointer. I just think if he gets that mid-range shot down, then he can be deadly in the NBA.
Yeah, I agree with that. We'll see what happens, but those two are pretty interchangeable. I'd be fine with either team taking either of those guys for sure.
All right, moving on to pick 13. I have Indiana Pacers selecting Corey Kispert, small forward from Gonzaga. I really love Corey Kispert's ability to shoot the ball and get open. He reminds me a ton of Joe Harris. His ability to get off screens, catch the ball. He's a lights-out shooter. The Pacers love taking guys who are established in college. They don't like to take freshmen, like established college players, and that's exactly what Corey Kispert can do. They're also right away from making those playoffs. They brought in Rick Carlisle, which was a great hire, and Corey Kispert can help them immediately.
Yeah, I like that pick. It might be a little high for him, but just like you said, he's established. You know what you're going to get from him. He's a little bit older, so you might say he doesn't have the same ceiling as some of these other guys, but I still think that it's a super reliable pick, and you're not really reaching. You know what you're going to get. He shot 44% from 3 last year. He's just lights out, torch shooter. So I like that pick a lot for this Pacers.
Yeah, with the final pick of the lottery, the Golden State Warriors select Davion Mitchell, point guard from Baylor. I love Davion Mitchell. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. He reminds me a ton of Marcus Smart. He's a really smart player, no pun intended. He's a great defensive player. He'll lock up your best player. His nickname's Off Night, because if you're guarded by Mitchell, you will have an off night. And I think he can develop that three-point shot. He showed it at the end of the year for Baylor. He'll come in, be the backup point guard. Golden State need to take an established college player to help them win, which they're in the position to do. And I think this is a great pick for them.
Yeah, I agree with that. If the Warriors come away with Kuminga and Davion Mitchell in this draft, I think that's an absolute steal of 2 players for them. And you're looking at them right back in the championship conversation next year. Just like you said, he's a lockdown defender, probably the best wing defender in this draft. He can score a little bit too. He averaged 14 last year in college. He was that best player on that Baylor team that won the national championship last year, in my opinion. Can shoot the ball from 3 too. I think that'd be deadly with coming off the bench with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson in that backcourt, and then you got to deal with Davion Mitchell coming off the bench with that defense. I think that'd be crazy, crazy good for the Warriors.
Yeah, absolutely. For my, we're gonna do what we did in the last mock draft video. I'm gonna say my next 5 picks. Fast. I'm gonna give a little brief description of each pick, and then Adyn's gonna pick his favorite player going to what team and how he likes that fit. With the 15th pick, I have the Wizards selecting Cam Thomas, shooting guard from LSU. I think Cam Thomas' ability to score will make him so valuable in this draft. Bradley Beal there's question marks surrounding him, whether he's going to get traded or stay. I think Cam Thomas could be the replacement for him. Next pick, I have the Thunder taking Chris Duarte, shooting guard from Oregon. Once again, he's one of the best spot-up shooters in this draft. He's great defense. I think the Thunder can take a guy to help speed up the rebuild a little bit, and that's exactly what Duarte will do. 17th pick, I have the Pelicans selecting Trey Murphy, wing from Virginia. This may be considered a reach, but not in my books. I think his ability to defend and shoot is exactly what the New Orleans needs next to Zion. With the 18th pick, I have the Thunder selecting Kai Jones, center from Texas. I love Kai Jones's athletic ability. He's a great lob threat. He needs to develop that three. He's also a great back down punisher, great defender. And finally, with the 19th pick, I have the Knicks selecting Jalen Johnson. He's a freak athlete. I think he has that lottery ability. If he didn't opt out at Duke, he would definitely be in the lottery. But him falling to the Knicks here is great value.
Yeah, I like all those guys a lot, but my favorite player of those guys is definitely Cam Thomas. He's a certified scorer, can score from all three levels. He was a crazy in that March Madness run for LSU last year. I think the Wizards, if just like you said, if Bradley Beal leaves, they need that certified scorer to come in that can score the ball when you give it to him, can ISO, can do it all. So I think that he's definitely my favorite player out of those guys.
All right, moving on. I'm just gonna go to 3 now. I think 5 was a bit too fast, too much. The 20th pick, I have the Hawks selecting Sharif Cooper, point guard from Auburn. I love his ability to pass. He's definitely one of the top passers in the draft. He needs to work on that defense. He's a great scorer. I think that's exactly what the Hawks need off the bench. I think he can be a great backup point guard, Trae Young, not knowing what will happen to Lou Will in free agency. The 21st pick, I have the Knicks selecting Trey Mann, point guard from Florida. With Derrick Rose potentially leaving, Elfrid Payton he's Elfrid Payton. He's not really going to be that great. I think he can step in and possibly be that next future starting point guard for the Knicks. And then finally at 22, I have the Lakers selecting Jared Butler. I love what he did in the tournament. He won most valuable player in the tournament. He's a great scorer, absolute lockdown defender, and that's exactly what the Lakers need as their potential starting point guard or someone off the bench.
Yeah, just like the last group of guys, I like all these guys a lot. You could go any way with this, but I'm going to go Sharif Cooper. He's a little bit undersized, but I think he makes up with that with his scoring ability. He could come off the bench, like you said, take that 6-man spot, just be a scorer for the Hawks. He can pass the ball too. Not a great defender, but I don't think he needs to be in that team. I think they just need him to score and facilitate the ball, which he can do extremely, extremely well. So I got Sharif Cooper there for sure.
All right, with the 23rd pick, I have the Rockets selecting Isaiah Jackson, big man from Kentucky. I love what he can do. I think he can slide in and be that future center next to Christian Wood. Very high energy player. Reminds me of Isaiah Stewart energy-wise. Just he's all over the place. Will block you from all the way across the court. He can rebound, defend. Not the best scorer, but I don't think they need him to be with all the scorers they surround him with. With the 23rd pick, the 24th pick, my bad. The Rockets select Zaire Williams. He's another wing they're bringing in. I think he's extremely athletic, very bouncy player. Needs to work on that shooting a little bit, but I think he can do that. Great defender. With the 25th pick, out of the Clippers selecting Day'Ron Sharpe, center from UNC. They got exposed a ton in the playoffs against the Mavericks and the Suns for not really having that big man other than Zubac. So I think he can slide in there and be a good backup center for them.
Yeah, I like those guys a lot, but I'm going Zaire Williams here. You could argue that he has the most potential at anyone in this draft. He's got one of the highest ceilings. He can shot create. He can do it all on the offensive end, and I think that you got to take a swing on him if you're the Rockets, and that'd be a great value pick there for them.
Yeah, no doubt. With the 26th pick, I have the Nuggets selecting Jaden Springer, combo guard from Tennessee. He can run the point or the shooting guard off the bench for the Nuggets. They got a gapping hole at that shooting guard position. He could potentially be the future shooting guard there. I think they'll love him with his defensive ability and ability to score. The 27th pick out of the Nets selecting Miles McBride, point guard from West Virginia. Miles McBride's definitely a top 5 perimeter defender in this draft. He's a great defender. He can also score the ball, averaging 16 points a game for West Virginia. I think potentially losing Dinwiddie in free agency, he can fill that gap. With the 28th pick out of the 76ers selecting Josh Primo, shooting guard from Alabama. He's very young. He's the youngest player in the draft. He's only 18 years old. He has great defensive upside, and he is very athletic, which I think the 76ers love. But the 29th pick out of the Suns selecting Bones Highland, point guard from VCU. He's definitely a top scorer in the draft. He reminds me a ton of Emmanuel Quickly. And I think potentially losing Cam Payne in free agency, he can fill that scoring guard spot off the bench. And with the final pick out of the Jazz selecting Usman Garuba, power forward from Spain. He's definitely one of the more raw players in the draft. People have him going in the lottery all over the place. I'm not a big fan of him. I don't know if his offense will ever really be there for an NBA level. His defense definitely is, and that's why he's going in the first round.
All right. I liked all those guys a lot. To round out the first round, though, I like Miles McBride. He's a combo guard. He can shoot the lights out of the gym, 41% from 3 last year. Can be that 3-and-D guy for the Nets, just like you said. Then when he leaves, he can come off the bench and just be that combo guard that they need, which I think would help them a lot next year.
Yeah, definitely. So that wraps up the first round, but I have a second round right here. Just take a look at it. I'm going to move this. One guy I like some fits here. I like Adyn to the Bucks. I think that would be a great pick for them. I like Josh Christopher to Pelicans. I love his 3D potential and his ability to score off the bench. I like Aaron Henry to the Pistons. I'm just praying for this as a Pistons fan. I love his defensive ability and his ability to score.
Yeah, there's a lot of good options here, too. This really deep draft. I like Adyn too. I think that'd be a steal for the Bucks there. Josh Christopher, he's one of the highest rated high school players coming to college last year. Didn't have the greatest college freshman year, but I think he still has a lot of potential. And Aaron Henry, just like you said, I agree with all your picks. He can come in for the Pistons. That'd be a steal for them. Isaiah Todd, all these guys, I think it's a super, super deep draft. Brandon Boston, you can't really go wrong with any of these guys, especially in the second round. So I think there's a lot of ways these teams can go for sure, and I'm excited for draft night.
Yeah, moving on. This wraps up the second round. Some guys I like. I like the fit of Joe Wieskamp to the Celtics. He's a great 3-and-D player. He can come off the bench. I love Chauncey Brown to the Nets. I'm a big Chauncey Brown fan. Not trying to be biased because I'm a Michigan fan, but I think he's a top perimeter defender in this draft. He has great energy. I would love it a ton if the Pistons get him, but I think it would be a great fit for the Nets. I like Livers too, Michigan fan, and I like Daishen Nix, one of the Pacers, great facilitator.
Yeah, I mean, I like both the Michigan guys too. You saw what Chauncey Brown did for Michigan in the playoff or on the March Madness last year. I mean, Luka Garza, I'm not sure how his game will translate to the NBA. He's older too. He's a senior, but he's established and he won Most Valuable College Player last year. So you know what you're going to get from him. Greg Brown, super athletic player. All these guys, just like I'll say it again, all these guys are super deep draft. Jason Preston, I like a lot. Yeah, so I think you can't go wrong with any of these players.
Yeah, super deep draft. All right, that wraps up today's video. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Liking and subscribing, you may not think it does anything, but it dramatically helps our channel grow. It helps people like you see it on your recommended, so we would deeply appreciate that. Also, make sure to watch the NBA draft tonight, 8 p.m. on ESPN. We'll catch you all in the next video.